Our next speaker for the day is Mr. Atul Tiwary, who is the Director of News at All India Radio, posted as Special Correspondent Prasar Bharati Middle East, and based in Dubai for Government of India since October 2011. He has contributed extensively as a reporter and later as the editor of news and current affairs programs of All India Radio and Doordarshan News over the past 15 years. I'd like to invite Mr. Atul Tiwary on stage to share his views on media and social responsibility.
Respected Professor Shukl, my esteemed colleagues Fajal Hashmi, Mr. Jain, and dear friends. I'm a newsman. I've been working in this field for quite some time. So I will start my premise with a few examples which will themselves tell you the story what social responsibility is all about in terms of media and otherwise else. Take for example, one of the very recent incidents. About 10 days ago, a road traffic accident happened on the roads of Dubai on the Emirates highways. Poor laborers were killed from India, from Bangladesh. Let's look at the coverage of the stories in the newspapers. One newspaper said all the passengers killed. The story was flashed on the social media within half an hour of the accident. 2 hours later, few of them are killed. 4 hours later, most of those who are killed in the accident are Asians. Next day, you get a full account of the story from the Dubai police chief and you get the factual details. Fine. But the very next day, you also see a gory video posted on social media network YouTube showing the dismantled body parts of the poor laborers. A widespread protest was raged and those images were taken off by YouTube after a span of a week. Second incident, one of the diseases, HIV/AIDS, you know when it was discovered how it was labeled? The Western journalists labeled it as a disease of 3H, the disease of Haitians, homosexuals and hemophiliacs. When the AIDS came into vogue, it was designated as, in fact, people used to read in the textbooks, the disease in the medical textbooks minded. It's a disease of Haitians, hemophiliacs and homosexuals. Cut to the third example. In 2009, there was a scare about bird flu. Many people died. One of the premier international agencies, WHO, under intense pressure, I won't call it a media pressure, of course media pressure was there. They said it's a global emergency and WHO prescribed a medicine called Tamiflu. They bought large quantities of Tamiflu and distributed it to different countries. 1 year later, WHO publicly admitted that it was a mistake. Hindsight, it was one of the ploys waged by one of the leading medical companies to enhance the sale of their brands Tamiflu. Cut to the fourth example. Why I'm trying to give you examples so that it shows our own responsibility towards our concerns or the issues which affect the people. The very recent example of Arab Spring. When the Arab Spring came into picture, it was labeled as the development of rebellion in the squares. Development of rebellion in the squares. Quite a few names came into the picture. Tahrir Square in Egypt, Pearl Square in Manama, Change Square in Sana'a, Azadi Square in Tehran, and Muhammad al-Bawzi's Square in Tunisia. But do you know that is the phenomena of protest and rebellion confined to squares only? The answer is a big no. Take for example Tunisia. The person who laid down his life for the revolt against Ben Ali's regime, he self-immolated himself on a street and the entire battle was fought in the avenues, the alleys, not in the square. Is it a rebellion of a square? The answer is a big no. Yes, the squares become symbolic, but some sections of the media, and especially the fringed Western press, they came out with the concept that it was a rebellion of squares. The point here is that we have to understand, A, whether media as such has a social responsibility. If yes, to whom? And if yes, why? Is not media the fourth state of democracy, which is there to give ear to the voices of the people? Yes, it is, but there are certain constraints. When I say constraint, remember, these constraints do not restrict your creative freedom. To some extent, well, my views might seem to be a little bit biased because I represent an official media, but I stick to my viewpoint. The reason being, we have seen a lot of the movements and the cross currents going around. When things happen in terms of the militancy in a particular part of the world, you label at a particular community belongs to extremists. But don't you see who is responsible for this? So as a responsible media, we have to understand the kind of information which we are dishing out. It has to be trustworthy. It has to be relevant. Plus, most important, it should have a platform for the diverse range of views in public arena. This broadly confines the definition in terms of the social responsibility of the media. My friend Fazal told that as a filmmaker, creative freedom cannot be tampered with. I fully agree with you. But creative freedom, my friends, they also you have to see that it should not border on the elements of what is called as some elements, some forces which can impact the psyche of the people. If you call pornography as a means of conveying expression, well, ball is in your court, but it may not be applicable in a particular context. So why not? Why not a particular regime or the government is justified in its opinion? There are certain other ways in which you can express your views or opinions. So the cultural context also has to be borne in mind. Yet at the same time, the views have to be free, fair, transparent, and they need not be biased. Coming on to so broadly in terms of these imageries, I would like to again draw some issues related to, we talked about the images in the electronic media. You see the recent advent of social media. Now, questions are being asked whether social media is good or bad. Well, every coin has got two sides. Social media, for most of us or for majority of us, it's more of a means of having a connect, having a sharing the contents, the ideas, the values, and the knowledge, and also collaborating and connecting. So far, so good. But if you use it as a means to spread some canard, where does it lie? Do you know, government of Yemen has recently found out one of the major drawbacks in its fight against the militants has been the advent of social media. One of the dreaded militant outfits, AQAP, Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula, they made such a fervent growth on the social media platform, and they conveyed their messages to the people, highlighting the attacks by US drones or by other means. That entire campaign or entire delivery mechanism of the Yemen government came to a standstill, and that is how they gained ground in the minds of the people. Another example, some time back there was a story about polio campaign in Pakistan. Isn't polio a disease which has to be countered, combated by a vaccine for the benefit of millions of our children? And the Pakistani media came to the forefront despite the onslaught of the so-called Talibanized elements, something like that. They came to the forefront and they said, no, you may say so, but we are here to stay. So here comes the role of a media platform in terms of its social responsibility. The point here which I want to again emphasize for our young friends who are entering into the world of media and the journalism to say so that you must not lose sight of your social concerns or social responsibilities. What happens? Remaining in the confines of our homes, protected by our parents, it applies to all of us. We many a times fall short of the imageries or the happenings which are going on out beyond our close confines or beyond our comfort zones. You have to address those issues, you have to address those concerns, and then only one and all of us can come out with the flying colors. One last issue which I would like to share with you is the word which is called corporate social responsibility. Now the question here is, first part is media social responsibility towards whom? To the audience, to the owner of the channel, to the government, or to themselves. 4 aspects. When we just try to dissect this premise, then we come to an understanding that where do we stand. If you look carefully, the 4th state of democracy gives you freedom to work around the ways in which you can address all these concerns. Yes, I accept that there are differences in different countries, there are differences in different dispensations, but still, as a responsible citizen of our countries wherever we are, we can do our level best to see to it that the concerns of the people, of the person, of the man at the last mile of development is addressed, and not only addressed, it is also met. One small example here was, some time back in India there was a rape incident in the national capitals 1 year ago. Now it raised a lot of hue and cry. Many people said, what is this? I'm opening the front page, I'm opening the television channels, I'm seeing all these stories. But my friends, here the courageous role of media came to the fore, because it highlighted, and the government of India was forced to agree that it has not done enough, and then it paved the way for a stronger law. Same thing happened in terms of corruption issues in India. So what I mean to say is that as a responsible citizen of any country, anywhere, in any part of the globe, we have a responsibility towards the citizens of the country where we live, or as a global citizen towards the people of the world, to see to it that those social concerns are addressed, or if not addressed, are redressed, or if not redressed, we can reach out to the authorities so that something can be done for the welfare of the people. But at the same time, remember, your ideas, it is your ideas which are going to click, it is your idea which is going to be the USP and no one else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The floor is open for any questions.
The students who are born and brought up here in the UAE, they have this the very alien view of the homeland. At times they're very confused in terms of the level of freedom. When they go to India, it's more like a vacation. Or when they go to Pakistan, it's more like a vacation. So the homeland, or the view of the homeland, is ultimately being created in front of them through their parents, and mostly through the media. So, I mean, what in your view would be, as a student, say for example in the UAE, how a student can equip himself or herself to get a more balanced view of their homeland in particular, and also as a global citizen, what should be an approach of a student to, to make sure that they get a much more balanced view of the world around them?
Yeah. It's quite a valid point, and which we have come across on many occasions, several occasions. The people from the diaspora in any part of the world, they are a sort of, they have a sort of, what you call identity crisis. Now, the question is not about crisis. Here the idea is that we have to understand what is the factual position. The factual position may vary according to the interpretations of the media. There are different channels, there are different mediums. Somebody might portray a very, some medium or some channels might portray a very good picture of your homeland or a country, while the story may be otherwise in some parts. But as as a responsible person, it is your duty to dig into the details. I tell everyone, please read, read and read. Unfortunately, this habit in terms of the tablet era and the digital era, it has been missing. But my dear friends, I again tell you, it's my humble request to all of you, please read. If you read more, you will learn more details. There are no shortcuts in life. So we have to try to learn, analyze, and then look the things from different points of views, different perspectives. It's something like different theories. But this will happen only when you interact. When you interact with whom? Interact with the people who are your colleagues, not only your colleagues, people who are your seniors, who are living in your homeland. Be connected. I'm not saying that the facilities back home are not so good, so you should not think in terms of making it big here. Of course, the money is a major attraction here. You should do it. There are not two doubts about that. But remember one thing for sure, that ultimately you have to have a sort of connect with your homeland, with which you will be linked or associated to, because it will take years and years for the concept of global citizen to emerge in a big way. So we are in an era of transition, and it's high time that we learn all the nuances and accept the truth behind it and then move ahead.
I have a question. It's, sometimes there's a complaint with a lot of people have with media, is that sometimes media only shows one side of the picture. For example, if it's a particular country, they'll only show the violent happenings happening in that country, and people will complain that, oh, they're not showing the peaceful people, or like whether it's to a race or a particular religion. Do you think that's a valid complaint so that people should have, or do you think that the media is doing that knowingly, unknowingly, or is there something the media could do to fix that, or people should have a different opinion about that? I just want to know your views on that.
Yeah, see, again, at the end of the day, all of us are individuals. All of us are human beings. So knowingly, unknowingly, willingly, unwillingly, we are virtually, a victim of our own biases. Now, if you have your bias, keep it to yourself. But just to reflect upon it in a wider public domain, so that you try to superimpose your views over and above the others, over and above the established norms, to me, again, it's my individual opinion, it doesn't augur well. That is why we see stereotypes. I gave you certain examples. The examples which show a very set pattern. I'll give you another very small example. Do you know why US televisions do not show any body bags of US army men coming who are dying in Afghanistan? Do you know why BBC and CNN, they showed the sanitized version of Gulf War? You call it a free press, you call it a vibrant democracy. My question is, why? Because there also they thought that as so-called, quote unquote, as a responsible journalist, they are able to do it. I'm not questioning the motives. The point which I'm trying to portray is that as a responsible citizen, we have always, it's our duty to decipher what is correct. And it's always rely on your conscience. If you rely on your conscience, if you rely on your conviction, which is based on rationale and logic, I can tell you, you will come out correct on 99.9% occasions. And when we accept this reality, then maybe we can see the real face of media, because so far what we see that all those three S, the sex, sleaze and sensation sells on the markets, on television channels to hike their TRPs. Except for this, anything positive, it doesn't sell. As they say, the news is a very difficult commodity to sell in the market.
Hi.
Yeah.
As students entering the vast field of media, if we have a message that we want to put forth, how can we circumvent the various pressures that might be upon us, which will try to suppress what we're trying to tell the people, the social message that we're trying to put forth?
I told you, most of us are victim of our own biases, our own egos. So first thing first, most of the pressures or the fears which we feel are our inbuilt creation, which have been developed because of the surroundings or the atmosphere or the environs in which we are living in. Most of us rely on the hearsay evidences. The crux of the matter here is that you, as you are entering the field of media, you have gone through a lot of grind, you have studied various theories, the models. Now it's time to come and understand what is the reality, what is the bottom line, and then slowly and slowly make a pitch. But again I tell you, it's not as if everything is just based on pressure. 90% of these pressures are self-inflicted pressures. We presume, because the presumption is the best preventive diagnosis for not doing anything.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the School of Media and Communication and the MCRAW Organizing Committee, I would like to thank all the chairpersons and faculty from all schools and the Facilities Department for their constant support through the event. A special mention to the School of Design and Architecture for providing us with creative pieces for the stage. And a big thank you to all our supporting partners, Yellow Egg Cafe, Palmer's, Rasasi, Quanta, Cool & Cool, Barakat Quality Plus, and Korean Printing Press.